That term vert, you'll hear that a lot. It's short for vertical. That means he's strictly a half-pipe rider when it comes to shows or competitions. Maybe you've seen him on TV, on ESPN in the past, on things like the X-Trials and the B3 series. He's out of Philadelphia, PA. Put your hands together for Jay Stevenson. Getting it started for us out here this afternoon. Rolling in right now and sending you over to the world of freestyle BMX. One of two BMX riders we have in the show here this weekend. He too, one of the veterans when it comes to his sport, and he too also strictly a vertical competitor. To give you an idea of how long this guy's been riding, he's been a professional rider for 20 plus years. Now when it comes to competitions, he's known for a couple of things. Number one, he's known for his consistency in major events, and number two, he's known for the impressive height in which he will do his tricks. That being said, you're going to see this guy launching himself a good 7, 8, maybe even 9 feet or more out of this ramp of ours. He's all the way from Denver, Colorado. Let's hear it for Jay Eggleston. Dropping in right now, the one guy getting the job done on the 8-wheeled side of life for us out here this weekend. He is a long-time veteran competitor in the world of vertical inline skating. Now, he's strictly a vert competitor as well. Although retired from competition back in his heyday, he competed in many an X Games, a little thing called the Gravity Games, and he was also the very first skater in his sport to have ever successfully landed the double backflip. He's out of Kutztown, Pennsylvania. Give it up for Matt Lindemuth. Dropping in right now and rounding out the skateboard side of things, another one of the veterans in that sport, and yet another strictly vertical competitor. Now, he spends his time each and every year traveling all across the world performing in shows, as well as hitting up all the major competitions. He's known for his super smooth style, and he too is also known for his consistency. When you see these guys competing on TV at those major events, there's a lot of pressure, a lot of prize money on the line, and this guy's known for having nerves of steel and getting the job done time and time again when it counts. He's from down south out of Tampa, Florida. Get loud for Anthony Furlong. And last but definitely not least, rounding out the roster here this weekend, another one of the veterans in the world of competitive vertical freestyle BMX. Now, he's known for a couple of things. Number one, his style. He's known for making these tricks look smooth and effortless. He's also known for his combination moves. What that means, you'll see him up in the air. He'll do 2, 3, maybe even 4 variations in the middle of one air. He also happens to be the master of this thing called the flare. What that is, it's a backflip with a 180-degree corkscrew twist. You've seen him on the X Games. You've seen him on the Dude Tour, residing in Ocala, Florida. How about a great big Six Flags welcome for Jimmy Walker? Well, there you go. You got a chance to meet the fellas. You know just a little bit about it. You've got some stats on them, so right now, gonna cut them loose and let them do their thing. And the way we run our show, it's what we call a jam session, which means these guys just get out there, drop in, and let it fly. And like I told you at the top of the show, they like to hear you making some noise out there, Six Flags. So come on, let's get loud for Jay and the rest of the crew. Let them know you're having some fun, because that's how it works. They hear you guys feeding off the energy, and then you get some big tricks, and you get a super cool fly out, like you just got out of Jay Stevenson over there. You never know what these guys are liable to throw it out for you out here, and I guarantee you keep that energy rolling, you're gonna get a lot of crazy things happening out of these boys on the ramp here. Now, I get a couple of jobs out here. Part of my job, I get to introduce you to the riders, make fun of them a little bit. I get to give you some stats, a little bit of background history on these guys. A little bit later on, I get to tell you a little bit more about the tour and why the folks from Air Force Reserve put this thing together. But another part of my job out here, I get to kind of explain what's going on here in the ramp. Things are going to be happening very, very quickly. It's a lot of eye candy. Some of you out there, you may skate, you may ride, and then again, some of you may follow this stuff fairly regularly on television. You got things like the X Games and the Dude Tour. You got that 24-hour action sports network called Fuel if you have cable or satellite. There's a whole world of action sports television programming out there, and some of you may follow this stuff fairly regularly, but then again, we may have some newbies in the crowd that have never seen any of this stuff before. And like I said, things are happening pretty fast, so I'll point out some of the subtleties, some of the nuances to watch for when these guys are in the ramp, because to the untrained eye, if you're not paying close attention, you might miss something pretty darn cool. Now, we'll start out first by talking about the equipment that these guys are on. Earlier in the introduction portion of things, I talked about that term vert or vertical quite a bit. What that means, basically, we call this thing a vertical ramp, but it's more commonly known as a half pipe. So anytime you hear that word vertical or vert for short, talking about this style of ramp and the kind of riding that's taking place within it. Now, this thing, believe it or not, I know it looks kind of impressive. This is actually small compared to most industry standard half pipes these days. When you see these guys competing on television, the ramps that they're on are considerably considerably larger than this. This one here, it's 10.5 feet tall and it's 20 feet in width because this thing folds up into a big semi-truck and we drive it all across the country on the Grab Some Air Tour. But when you see these guys on TV or at the local skate parks, those ramps are anywhere in the neighborhood of 13 to 14 feet tall and anywhere from 60 to 120 feet in width. Now, you're going to see a combination of things. You're going to see the aerial maneuvers, which everybody seems to like the most, but you're also going to see some of the technical variety of what these guys are able to do. You'll see some tricks that take place a little lower in the air as well as on the top of the ramp. Now, the top of any ramp is known as a lip. Now, whenever you hear the term lip trick, that's pretty much the technical style moves when they're up riding along on the top edge of the ramp. Now, again, everybody likes the big air stuff, but sometimes those lip tricks are actually tougher than some of the big air moves. We got that metal bar that runs across the top of the ramp there. That's called coping. Now, what that's there for, it serves two purposes. Number one, you can use it to grind on, or the other thing that it does is it sticks out about 1/4 of an inch away from the edge of the ramp. Now, the reason for that being is when you ride out of the top of this thing to do an air, you want to have a little bit of pop. You want it to hit your back wheels of your skateboard or the back tire of your bike or the wheels of your inline skates, because when you go straight up in the air, you want to pop away from the ramp a little bit. And the reason for that being is when you come back into this thing, you don't want to hang on the top of this thing. That's bad news. We call that a clip or a lockup. If you hang on the top of this thing, well, that's no fun, and it spits you straight into the flat bottom. So that coping there kind of gives you a little bit of